Sometimes the inner voice is encouraging, calling for you to run those final few yards. You're nearly there. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. It will all be okay in the end.
Porter Robinson is an American music producer and songwriter, most famous for co-creating the song featured in the animated short film Shelter, and at the time releasing his popular debut electronic album Worlds. Worlds was developed after Robinson's decision to stray away from heavy-hitting dance music in favour of his more melodic storytelling elements in his songs. Describing a fictional world where humanity's existence has ended, leaving only a human and a singular AI robot left on Earth.
Is anyone there? Hi.
The album was received positively.
Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, Strong 5 to a Light 6.
Hey bitch, shut the fuck up.
Enabling Porter to embark on a world's tour and release a full-length remix album. However, in 2016, after experiencing a large creative drought and depression, no music was posted by Robinson, thinking that nothing he could create would ever compare to Worlds' quality and success. My entire life revolved around making music, but for the first time in my life, I was struggling to make anything at all. I was desperate to make something I was proud of, but the more I struggled, the worse the problem became. I was very seriously depressed and genuinely thought my life was over as I knew it. It was almost 3 years of trying to write music, failing, and being crushed by it every single day. The album I'm about to talk about in this video was the result of an immense amount of work from Robinson over his hiatus of 7 years not releasing any music. It is a message of resilience, working through depression, and how music started making me happy again. Nurture was released on the 23rd of April 2021, over a year after its first single was announced, being delayed multiple times because of the pandemic. I've been a fan of Porter's music since Shelter was released, after seeing it featured on Row Beats. Yes, Row Beats, which then enabled me to discover Worlds. And I can tell you, waiting 4 years for an album drop is a long wait, but was so worth it to discover my favourite piece of art of all time. Lifelike is the album's intro, a soft welcoming melody which literally sounds like how the album cover looks. It opens with birds chirping and a slow piano, before blossoming into this beautiful instrumental piece. This song is the window into the worldview of Nurture. It's saying, these are the things that are worth showing here. It's only 90 seconds long, but it sets the tone of what you can expect moving into the rest of the album. I think there's something so interesting about how an artist can go through so many musical phases, from this
100% in the bitch.
to this, to this. Lifelike sounds like the title score to a massive open world RPG, or the soundtrack that would play when the camera pans out to reveal the beauty of the world around us. As an artist, my vantage point into the beauty of the real world is so often sitting in a recording studio, staring out my window, and feeling like I'm in a forest. That's what informed the creative direction of this album. Oh yeah, did I mention that I love this cover art? Look at the Sky is an upbeat, tempo-pumping pop anthem, which reminds us that there is a reason for hope. And the message is even clearer when you realise this song took 5 years to make from start to finish. It's an incredible insight into Porter's burnout and creative drought, and the words and principles which led him to escaping it. Look at the sky, I'm still here, I'll be alive next year. That's so magical, lyricism which could only come from someone who has been there. I think the fact that music can speak to fans and the artist himself is just beautiful. After thinking you found yourself and then slowly losing the thing that you thought you were born to do, over years of creative burnout and self-loathing, Look at the Sky tells us to have faith in the future. Its life principles, self-affirmations and pure hopefulness make this track my favourite song I've ever heard, but there's still so much more to come.
Tell me how it felt when you walked on the water. Did you get your wish? Floating through the surface, quicker than we say. I
first single to be released from Nurture, Get Your Wish encourages the audience to get up and move on. I just started to think about what my favourite music has done for me. I thought about Daft Punk and Bon Iver, and I came to the answer that I'm making music for the other me's out there. People like me that rely on their favourite artists to get through a hard time. I was no longer paralysed by the question, did you get your wish? Did you get the thing you wanted? Once I finally understood that the answer is no, I realised that's okay. The world opened up. I realised external validation is a cup with a hole in the bottom and it can never be filled. Hope is probably the word I would use to describe this entire album, just full of pure hope. To move on, keep trying, and a reason for not giving up. Times can get better. I was inspired by Bon Iver's album 22 a Million. I found that album when my little brother had cancer. I really wasn't able to make music at that time, but that album made me a few degrees brighter, more hopeful. And when I thought about how much that music means to me, I realised that all that matters is making music that connects with people. Get Your Wish is looking forward to the future and that it will be an improvement. Floating to the surface quicker than you sank. That's a mantra for this whole project, to get up and keep believing. The 6-minute experimental song Wind Tempos begins with this glitchy, stuttery, but rather beautiful repeating piano melody, with panning vocals and dripping water sounds. Sounds which layer on top of each other to create this soundscape which I think fits the title perfectly. 3 minutes in, the words "It's so holy" are expressed. The building layers then cut to reveal just a singular piano piece. This song has no retaining style, no proper lyrics, and barely has a tempo, but I think what the song is trying to say is really brilliant. The world really is so holy. Wind Tempos expresses that perfectly. At the end of my trip to Japan, a Japanese pianist gave me a disc file of Japanese ambient music from the early 2000s. I hadn't heard any of it, but he knew it'd be my thing. Not only did it inspire Wind Tempos, but I wound up throwing in this tiny sample of him playing a toy piano. It's super distorted, almost unrecognisable. I emailed him to see if I could give him credit on the song, just a little way of recognising how much he influenced me. He agreed. Musician is my favourite song on the album. It's me when I'm peaking on inspiration and creativity and I feel invincible.
No, I don't miss the feeling anymore. Yeah, I want something new to love. I was so nostalgic, but I'm fine without it. You don't really want what you think you want.
Musician speaks on Porter's experience being an artist, his inner voices, self-doubt and will to keep making music. It's the most popular song on the record too, and for good reason. It's incredibly catchy, made from a sample from an unreleased Porter Robinson and Kero Kero Bonito collaboration. I can't think of anything that better captures what it feels like to be on stage. The result is just boundless joy. Burning up and burning out is just the cycle of being a musician. It's what you gain and what you sacrifice. The chorus feels like an anthem for artists everywhere. Can't you feel what I'm feeling? Musician breaks the fourth wall and speaks to listeners and artists in a way that inspires even me to, I don't know, make breakcore or something. Do Re Mi is a crunchy, bouncing, melodic track, which is just such a good time. I know this is a video essay and I'm supposed to be informative or whatever, but this is literally the best way I can describe this song. I wrote this song in 8 hours. It feels like rollerblading through my neighbourhood, just feeling free and in this childlike state. You might think of Do Re Mi as an album filler, and while you very well may be correct, this is how you make an album filler right. The essence of this track talks about how much Porter wants to say with his music, that soul instrumental songs just don't cut it. It has a childlike vocal sample, and keys which scale up and down to reference Do Re Mi Fa Sol La Ti Do. It's such a joyous song and should be so much more appreciated by consumers of this album. Don't sleep on tracks like these, they are brilliant.
I am sorry. Ready? Is it mind if I turn? You got change now?
Yeah. Actually, this one I got a year ago, and the other one I got 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, so he's got 2 guitars now. Now Dad, where's that other one? Go on a scavenger hunt?
It's in my room.
Fine. So can I take a look for it?
Sure.
Look of it. Now, this is the tour of the house.
I wanted a song to express the love that I feel for my parents, as well as the grief of growing up. I felt like the minute I moved out, my youth would be over and I'd hardly ever see my family or dog again. In reality, it wasn't like that at all. I still see them all the time, but I wanted to capture the sad side of growing up, of realising your parents aren't infallible. Mother is a thumping, sample-flipping masterpiece, which discusses Porter growing up and becoming an adult himself, thinking he will lose touch with his family and having to go out into the world alone. Mother speaks on how thankful Robinson is for his parents, their care and their kindness, and how while he appreciates it, he can keep living, all thanks to how his family have shaped him. Mother is a stunningly adorable song. It means a lot to me and my mum too. I will always appreciate Porter's work and what it means to me personally. I can't thank him enough for that. Okay, here we go. Dulcite is an interlude, something to keep you alert. You think that all songs are going to sound the same? No. Try getting smacked around in 1,000 directions, with no BPM, no tempo, panning notes from the left to the right, no melody. Dulcite is the Marmite of this album. It comes out of nowhere, right between 2 beautiful songs, and I think that's kind of magical. It sounds like something that's trying to become a song but doesn't know how, is a nice way to put it. Dulcite is great, and Nurture would be worse off without this song. It really feels like you are being smacked around by a scythe, not hurting you, just pushing you around everywhere. It opens up halfway through to unveil a real pretty melody, so I guess it realised how to finally be a song. I notice new elements of this track each time I listen with headphones. There is just so much to unpack. This song is not harmful, and you guys need to stop hating on Dulcite. Also, there comes a point in every Porter Robinson fan's life when they memorise every note on this song and when it will play, and I love that. Sweet Time is my second favourite on the album. Some days I would even say it's my favourite. Sweet Time is a masterpiece of some of the best songwriting I've ever heard. I will start by just reading what Porter has to say about this song because I think he says it beautifully. This song is about being so in love with someone that for the first time in your life you're scared of dying. You realise you aren't guaranteed an eternity together. In the lyrics, I talk about going to find God to make sure my wife is okay, and it makes me cry every time. I was bawling my eyes out in the studio, I could barely get the words out. In the end though, it's also an expression of gratitude because the world is so lucky to have her. Sweet Time is about living in the now, experiencing and treasuring what time you have. You may waste years of your life anxious for death and its consequences, but the world really is lucky to be your home. Right now is beautiful. Living is beautiful. So,
But I won't spend time resenting the way things are. I know you say how, but yeah, do your response. I know what you want from me.
conversation, reflecting on how we speak to our inner voices, the voices that tell us we can or we can't. It's about not being too difficult on yourself, to allow yourself to win, lose, and experience things as a human. I realised I had these inner demons that were represented by the nastiest things someone might say to me on Twitter, or the meanest things music critics might say. And they got in my head. They affected me creatively, because every time I'd write something, it was really easy to imagine someone dissing it. Mirror spans 5 minutes long, featuring snippets of the narrator, encouraging the speaker and guiding them. These spoken parts have sort of put off everyone I've shown the song to, as if they don't belong, but the narrator's role in this song plays a crucial part in recognising we have these inner voices. We can't let them get the better of us, and we can always affirm ourselves that it all will be okay in the end. It can really be liberating to recognise that most of the time, we're only letting our own thoughts get in the way, and we can do something about that.
You're nearly there. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. It will all be okay in the end.
Something Comforting was the first song written for Nurture, and it took 4 years to finish. This was the starting point for everything to come. Emotionally and lyrically, I feel like this song captures the essence of the album. It was the first thing I wrote that became the seed for everything that followed. Porter had received a lot of praise for his debut album Worlds, and he thought that this was exactly what he wanted, creating music and albums and tours and being a creative musician. But after experiencing self-doubt and imposter syndrome, and just thinking that you'll never replicate that success again, you might start to feel like it wasn't really what you wanted from the start. This track was Porter's voice calling for help, and what ended up helping him was the song itself. He overcame all those feelings which left him feeling like he would never make music again. Something Comforting in the entirety of Nurture was the product of every single one of those hard times.
I close my eyes. For once I don't have to try. I'm well wishing for life. I picture you happy, whole.
In May of 2023, Porter married his now wife Rika. Blossom is a love ballad dedicated to her, and I want to say it's one of the most personal songs on the album, just a guitar and heartfelt words. He had written it in a day. He says that it all came together so quickly and so naturally and so perfectly.
This song teases the subject of death at so many occasions, and it feels like the end is looming over the whole song. If the conclusion we're coming to here is, let's not worry about the end. That's what Rika's telling me. Let's just try to be happy with the time that we have. Where does that leave us in the end? And I think the place that leaves us is just gratitude.
I put my pictures down, and not as good as the real thing. I wish I could go home. You're just nostalgic. What do we wander from and only notice it now? So be here with me.
Unfold is the final big song, a wall of sound he calls it, a song about breaking through, reaching your destination, overcoming your challenge. It's this loud, impressive, booming track as we prepare to close the album. This song is what the best parts of life sound like. A collaboration with totally enormous extinct dinosaurs, Unfold is a wonderful latter half album track. It represents the journey of listening through the album and what Porter overcame to create it.
For your hands now. Put color in your cheek. I missed you back then. So be here with me.
But we're not done yet. Trying to Feel Alive is our endpoint. Porter looks back at his journey after completing Nurture, the album he once thought would never exist. I really wanted to write something for Trying to Feel Alive that felt truthful but also helpful, something that expressed how I was still kind of scared, but that didn't contradict the central meaning of the album. And that took weeks. I remember this breakthrough when I thought, wait, do I actually want to be happy? Like completely satisfied now that the album is done? Do I actually want to be done? And the answer was a resounding fuck no. I realised that it's actually a precious gift to be dissatisfied, because that keeps you moving forward. I always want there to be another mountain to climb. I feel purposeful when moving forward, even if I know no destination will ever truly satisfy. Nurture inspires to live, to hope, to stay strong, to keep going, to keep believing, to keep loving, and to keep living. This album has spoken to me, and so many other people on a level I never thought art could. Porter's work is like a piece of me. It has and always will have my heart. A few years ago, I was completely losing hope of my life. I had nothing to do, nothing to love, and no confidence left. Those months were some of the worst times of my life, but when I was at my lowest, I discovered Nurture. My friends and family wonder why I care so much about this album. I have it plastered everywhere, I have it on my wall, I get annoyed if anyone speaks bad about it. But it's kind of like hearing a song that is playing in the background after your first kiss, or the song you have your first dance to. The album found me when I needed it most, and those songs and the feeling they produce will stick with you for endless amounts of time. I remember singing along to the vocal chops in Shelter, or Havana in Sad Machine in the car when I was like 12. I still thought I was going to become something better than I am now when I was that age. I've not made that much progress since then. I've left school, never gone back, and I don't do a lot with my life. But Nurture has made me understand that every part of life is a mountain, and even just walking home on my own, finding something to do that is worth my time, making a video like this, which is about something I truly love, is as much as an achievement for me as it is writing a hopeful, Japanese-inspired, nature-themed electronic album for Porter. Everything is a mountain, and you will always want to climb the next one. But remember to enjoy yourself, take pride in what you love, treasure your life and the things in it, and nurture the journey. Here I am on the other side of this, still struggling with making music, still not necessarily feeling whole, but beginning to understand that maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's the point. Maybe making music is my way of trying to feel alive, over and over again.
Then somebody somewhere finds the warmth of summer in the songs you write. Maybe it's a gift that I couldn't recognize. Trying to feel alive.
With Smile now out everywhere, Porter is receiving even more attention at the moment, which he so desperately deserves. It makes me really happy to hear a Porter Robinson song on the radio, or listen to my younger brother sing along to Cheerleader on the FIFA 25 soundtrack. I hope everyone can experience the wonder of Porter's songs. Music is so unbelievably magical, and I want the world to know how much this album means to me. When I was questioning whether or not this album was ever going to happen, I was able to listen to a song like Something Comforting, and that reassured me. I felt like I had this. Getting made you want more, but maybe we don't need more. Maybe everything we need is already here.